Good evening, I'm Alan Martin.
And I'm Elizabeth Cook. Dana is off tonight. Their parents will likely have a lot of questions for them.
The students who were busted for drugs on a ski trip to Utah are on their way back to the Bay Area. In fact, the first bus is scheduled to pull in any time now. Kristen Ayers tells us what one student who came back early says happened up there. Kristen?
That's right. The bus is expected to pull in here any minute. The kids who are coming off those buses have no citations and no charges despite being caught with pounds of illegal drugs. Today, kids who took the trip in years past told me it's basically a vehicle for sex, drugs, and partying.
I've gone in years past.
And Acalanes High senior Justice Fleischman says it's more than just a ski trip.
Oh, yeah, it's definitely a lot of partying.
Are we talking like drugs, hookups? Is it that type of thing?
Yeah. Pretty much.
It's what student athletes practicing lacrosse on campus today told us most parents don't know about the annual Salt Lake City ski trip. Max Merner's mother let his sister attend a few years ago.
Oh yeah, it's a ski trip. You can go. And she didn't really know about the drugs and alcohol.
This time, the teens, about 250 of them from 40 Northern California schools, were caught red-handed. A worker at an I-80 rest stop smelled marijuana smoke and called police. Drug-sniffing dogs found several pounds of pot on board, along with paraphernalia, alcohol, and a slew of hallucinogenics. One Acalanes High teen, a soccer player who did not want to be identified, was there and said the police chief let everyone off with a slap on the wrist.
They just took the stuff and said, all right, you're on your way. Who knows if there was more?
There is already a backlash. CBS 5 obtained an email sent by one Bay Area principal to the police chief. I do question why none of the students were held criminally responsible for their actions. Parents at this suburban school disagree.
I still would like parents to have an opportunity to deal with their own kids and not be prosecuted criminally for it. So
I think it's a good warning for everyone out there.
And the Elko police chief was not available for a comment today, though he did tell a newspaper that he basically gave the kids a slap on the wrist as a learning experience for them. We tried to reach the superintendent at the school, also not available for comment. So, Alan, it's not clear whether these kids will face punishment here at school.
All right, Kristen, thanks.
Well, these types of trips seem like an invitation for drugs and alcohol. Linda Yee looked into the tour company that organized this trip.
It's 4 days of action, sports, and entertainment. A $500 adventure package for high school students on winter break. Except this week's tour had more than advertised. Marijuana, drug paraphernalia, and alcohol stashed in suitcases. The owner of Summer Winter Action Tours, or what's popularly known as SWAT, told me by phone it wasn't his fault the kids violated his zero-tolerance policy.
It's really a parenting issue.
TJ Yanishin concedes teenagers on break often mean trouble, but they are the minority.
So it's safe to say that in every trip there's some bad apple you're catching?
Of course, because I'd be naive. You would think I would be lying if I said no. It's a statistical stat. You can go on the internet and see what high school students do these days.
Yanishin has owned SWAT for 15 years. He's a former skier and a world traveler, and he says his chaperones are trained to spot and handle troublemakers. But students at Acalanes High say drug use on the ski trip is not a secret.
Well, the amount of drugs that was confiscated was like a ridiculous amount of contraband, but I mean, for how many kids were on the bus, especially going on the trip, you would have to expect that there would at least be some.
Some of the students we've talked to say it's a well-known fact that it's a party trip. You do drugs, drink alcohol, and you hook up.
Yeah, well, I totally disagree. If you knew my infrastructure and how much security I have and work with local law enforcement, if I was doing that, I wouldn't be invited back to these hotels.
Yanishin says the police should have arrested the kids in Elko.
But they need to be taught a lesson. I wish when they got to Elko, they actually all got citations, so they would have to go back to court with their parents and make it hurt more. But what they did is they confiscated everything, didn't write any names, no citations, no police report, no nothing, and sent the buses to me. And I had to spend 5 hours investigating, and I sent 17 kids home.
But Yanishin says it won't stop him from future trips.
Because it's very rewardable, and it makes good money.
Well, TJ Yanishin says 95% of his customers are under 18 years of age. His travel company is licensed by the state attorney general.
but it's not known if this warrants or if there will be any criminal investigation. A spokesman did tell me today that the Attorney General usually doesn't investigate unless local law enforcement asks for help.
Linda, thanks.
A Vancouver Canucks hockey